Okay, day 25 in raising chickens. So, I know, I gotta get you, take a quick look. Look how that head's developing in there. See the comb is developing up top, the eyes and the color, they're almost a blue-gray eye color now. The ears, the earlobes are starting to develop. Anyway, all the plumage and all of your feathers are coming in nice and thick. I'm gonna let her wings go so she'll show you her wings. So this is 25 days, which is actually 30 days for them because we're ballparking about 5 days before we got them. All right. So how to keep these birds looking like this or getting better and not getting sicker? So I guess that's something that we've been trying to research, because in the brooder and inside the home, you can keep them, you know, pretty contained, and you can keep a lot of the insects down. You can keep all of these problems away from them. But now that they've been outside every day, so that's what we've been looking into. So we're trying to stay ahead of the game and see how to protect them coming in the future. So we're at day 25. And we're guessing in the next 2 to 3 weeks that we're gonna have them in the chicken coop full time, the big ones. So how to protect them out here? So yes, we've protected the perimeter from big animals coming in. We've given them shelter from hawks coming down from above. We've given this, you know, nice little chicken house for them to live in at night and stay nice and warm and stay away from the wind. But what about on a microscopic or on a tiny mite or chicken lice or chicken bug or chicken parasite level? How do you protect them, and how do you protect them in a way that also protects us? So we're gonna end up eating the eggs, we're gonna end up possibly eating them. So how do you protect them and us? So what I found so far is diatomaceous earth. Try and say that a few times. So diatomaceous earth. What is diatomaceous earth? Basically, it's a big bag of powder that you spread around. But really, what is diatomaceous earth? So diatomaceous earth comes from diatoms. If you Google it or you look it up, basically it's a bunch of microscopic algae, which the world is full of, and the algae dies and they've got little shells, they fossilize. Over time, you know, we get it, we mine it, and then we turn it into powder, and that's what we use for a more organic, food conscientious pesticide rather than spraying actual chemical pesticides, which can be cancerous. So what are the concerns with diatomaceous earth? For the animals, you don't want them to consume more than, I think it's 2 or 3%. I believe it's 2% of their actual diet. We're not going to be using that for animals to be consuming in their diet. Yes, they can pick around and they can scratch around, but the chances of them meeting 2% of their diet, that's not going to happen with how we're raising them, unless we decide later to do it as a medication. But at that point, we might consult a vet or go down that route. So what are we using diatomaceous earth for? We're using it to stay as a prophylactic parasite or anti-parasite treatment. So what we want to do is we want to prevent lice, chicken lice. We want to prevent chicken mites. So how do we do that? Well, we have a chicken bath or chicken sandbox back here, which we've created, and we're going to add some of the DE or diatomaceous earth to the sandbox. They'll be able to flap around in that. Some people use ashes, wood ashes from the fire. Some people use all different mediums, but as long as you have the diatomaceous earth in the actual sand bath, the chickens will flap around, and that's their natural way of trying to get all of these things that irritate them off of them. So in the wild or on farms where they're free range, you'll see chickens laying around in dusty areas or sandy areas, which most farmers have already provided, and they're just flapping, going crazy and doing things to themselves, and that's them trying to get these irritating parasites off of them. So what we are going to do is we are actually going to, since we have put down all of this contractor's fine sand, we're going to spread just very fine coats around this whole area, and that should keep down the mites and keep down the lice. And added benefit, keep down ants, and we don't have cockroaches, knock knock, but any other insect or bug that has an exoskeleton, that's how it will work. So how does diatomaceous earth work? Well, the diatomaceous earth, like we said, comes from the diatoms, comes from their shells, and then it is broken down, mined, and turned to a powder form. Well, if you look at diatomaceous earth under a microscope, you'll see that it is basically looks like shredded glass, like shards of glass. So those are very, very sharp edges. And most people are under the misconception that basically that just like cuts open an exoskeleton and then they just die. Okay, well, it's a little more intricate than that. What happens is the diatomaceous earth, it's more like pouring salt on a slug or on a snail. The diatomaceous earth will get into the joints and get into the nooks and crannies of the exoskeletons, and it actually binds and it dries out their protective mucous membranes and their protective layers, and then it will actually get in there like fine glass and start causing, you know, micro tears and striations, and then the animal will end up dying. The microorganism will end up dying. So that's kind of how, hey, how you doing down there? This one likes me. This one has separation anxiety. She always comes to me no matter what we do. She's the one that hangs out with me the most. Anyway, so back to the diatomaceous earth. How are we going to put it down? So before I show you the DE, I choose, as I'm a nurse, and you know that I kind of try and err on the side of caution when it comes to things. So how does DE affect us as humans? Well, in eating it or consuming it, it's actually not a problem. You can put it in your coffee is what some people say. I don't drink coffee, but I wouldn't put it in my coffee. And I'm not saying to put it in your coffee. What I'm saying is that if we put it on the animals or we use it in livestock, if we eat that livestock, it's not going to hurt us. But that's basically a big bag of powder. Powder can be inhaled. So anytime you're inhaling anything, whether it's chemical, I always just try my best to avoid inhaling anything. So I'm going to put on a mask to spread this around or to deal with it. So real quickly, I hope you can hear me. I'm going to put on a mask just to be able to show you the DE. So this right here, I grabbed at Tractor Supply. It's just regular DE. It's food grade. And if I bring it up here close to where you can see, okay, it's simple. It just looks like grape flour. But when I let it go, you see how it goes up and it goes down and it goes around? That right there is very easy to breathe in. So breathing that in will give you something called silicosis. The problem with that is that is actually a very bad thing. So the breeze has taken that away now. So for us talking, it's easier for you to hear me without a mask. Silicosis, so the silica is the microorganism's shell that's broken down, that's jagged glass. So think of microscopic jagged glass inside of your lungs on a microscopic jagged glass level with your microscopic mucosa, okay, with your alveoli and with your lungs, and we can go into a whole medical thing. That just sounds awful. So don't do it. Don't get it in your lungs. It's extremely irritating, and it can set off a real bad situation for you. So what we're going to do is we're going to spread it all around the chicken run, and then we're going to spread it around the chicken coop when we do start letting them inside there. That should give us, you know, plenty of a base to prophylactically treat it. Now, how long does it take for diatomaceous earth to work? That's the thing. Everywhere I Google, everywhere I talk to, everything that I look at, I get all these different answers. But you can look at, if I was to take a handful of this stuff and stick a cockroach in it, or stick a mite in it, or a tick, it would die in a few hours, okay? And that is with that animal being completely surrounded in a big old, you know, mound of it. That's a very different situation, I feel, than a bug that's flying around or walking around or hopping around and landing on a little bit of it, a teeny tiny bit of it. So jumping into a bucket of acid is very different than like getting a teeny tiny little drop of acid on you. So How long does it take Diatomaceous Earth to work? From what I can see, it takes 7 days to 21 days. It's a 1 week to 3 week process of eradicating or stopping your problem. Now, when you're dealing with insects, you're not usually dealing with one single mite or one single lice. You're dealing with like a million of them. So it's how to stop, the whole army coming in rather than just the one. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to err on the side of caution again, and we're going to put it down once a week. That should give us a 7-day period. So every week we're just going to sprinkle just a teeny tiny bit. This big bag here is a 20-pound bag, and that should last us a very long time. When it comes to how long it kills or how long it takes to hurt the animal, the microorganisms, it takes like we said, 7 days to 21 days, but it also can be transferred. So like with ants, they actually always go wherever they go, and then they bring it back to the queen, or they bring it back to wherever they came from, their sand pile. So whenever it comes to those insects, it also depends on how those insects act and how they behave. So with mites and lice, they tend to find hosts like the chicken, and then they try and live on the chicken, and then they try and breed on the chicken, and then they go hopping, okay? So what you want to do is you want to get them as they're coming in, and then you want them dying and killing them while they're here, and then not being able to leave and then come back and do it again. So again, we're going to put it down once a week. We're going to put it down 2 to 3 weeks before we're going to let the chickens be out here full time in the coop. So that should give us a good timeline to keep them safe. So I'm going to put some down real quick, and that's Diatomaceous Earth. All right, I'm going to get my Diatomaceous Earth on and check this out. All right, well, I hope we learned a little bit of Diatomaceous Earth, and comment, subscribe, let us know what we're doing right, what we're doing wrong. This is Into Homesteading. I'm Richard, and I hope you're enjoying about how to keep them, as bug-free and as safe and, whoa. Okay, take 2. Come, chicken. Come here. Gentle, nice, gentle. Sneak. Here's the chickens. Gentle, come here. Huh? You feel like you're getting replaced by a chicken? Feel like you're getting replaced by a chicken? Huh?